You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Good morning, Car Clinic affiliates. Your Car Clinic minutes for the week of August 29th are about to head your way. So go ahead and press that record button. And as always, thank you for listening to and broadcasting Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Have a great weekend.
Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Remember the old Abbott and Costello routine? Who's on first? What's on second? And I don't know's on third? Well, forget the slapstick, because I do know what will strike out MPG. Stay tuned. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Upon EPA approval, advanced ethanol production from grain sorghum will give the nation another option as it aims to meet the federal goal of producing 36 billion gallons of renewable fuels per year by 2022. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Drive to ethanolrfa.org. In the automotive version of Abbott and Costello's routine, if what's running the bases, it's you who pays at the gas pump. In the car world, watt, short for wide open throttle, means pedal to the metal and wasted MPG. Think of your engine as baseball giant Barry Bonds. He expands his lungs, breathes hard, and consequently uses lots of energy as he sprints around the bases. Likewise, when your vehicle's lung, aka the throttle, is fully expanded or wide open, lots of air rushes into the engine, which in turn burns excessive energy, aka gas. So what can you do? Hit an MPG home run by taking the bases nice and easy. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. You can't transform a sow's ear into a silk purse, but designers can convert mules into automotive thoroughbreds. The question is, can the mules keep pace with technology? The answer, when I come back. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. The American race we all can win is independence from foreign oil, and the American ethanol industry's stepping up the pace. Scores of ethanol technology companies are already into the demonstration phase of production, proving that technologies which convert everything from corn stalks to grasses to garbage to algae are viable. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Automotive mules are life-size physical prototypes that manufacturers have traditionally configured, built, and tweaked before production models are released. But wait, the whip of technology may put the mules out to pasture before they reach the starting gate. Since a single mule prototype can cost up to $500,000, and as many as 60 mules can be produced for a single model, it makes more than horse sense that today's digital engineers are now harnessing the power of supercomputers to simulate safety, drivability, and aesthetics, the triple crown of automotive design. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Little did Disney know how small the world would really become. Now don't move a minuscule muscle, because when I come back, I'll take you on a fantastic voyage to the center of an RFID tag. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. New 2017 federal fuel economy standards present an opportunity for ethanol blends above E15. Ethanol's high-octane rating is a valuable asset to automakers, as engines are designed to increase efficiency to meet 54.5 mpg standards for car and light-duty trucks. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Honey, scientists have shrunk more than the kids, and the special effects in the automotive theater are really big. Based on RFID, or radio frequency identification, smart cards containing tiny antenna-type sensors enable them to receive and respond to radio commands of microchip tags embedded in toll gates, gas stations, and subway turnstiles. Card holders maintain freeway speeds, pump fuel quickly, and hop the train in a flash, all without small talk with attendants. The smart card automatically charges the holder's predetermined account. Little wonder why this technology is being adapted for big-time transportation needs. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with another Car Clinic Minute. Tiger Woods cringes every time he does it, and it cost Arnie Palmer a Masters. Slices, or hooks on the fairway, may cost a green jacket, but I'll tell the price tag for veering off center on the roadway when I come back. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. E15 as a choice at the pump benefits engines of today's EPA E15 approved vehicles. The first gas station offering an E15 alternative to drivers of light-duty vehicles, model year 2001 and newer, opened its E15 pumps to consumers in Lawrence, Kansas in July 2012. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. The fairway's nothing. The price you'll pay for slices or hooks on the roadway will cost more than a green jacket. And here's how to judge a vehicle that's below par. If you're motoring behind slicers or hookers, you'll recognize them by their tendency to creep left or right. If you're the driver, you'll feel your car pull this way or that and find yourself manually overcompensating. In either case, trying to keep a car down the middle indicates a problem with alignment, which is a double bogey. It'll cost miles per gallon because it takes energy to right a wrong, and loss of control, which is a real hazard. So correct your vehicle's swing. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us? You'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Rey Mysterio and The Big Show may take the belt in wrestling, but when it comes to child seat safety, you can be the champ. Get ready to rumble when I come back. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. From Secretary of the Navy Ray Mabus, every time the cost of a barrel of oil goes up $1, it costs the U.S. Navy $31 million. But it's costly in more ways than just money. For every 50 convoys of gasoline we bring in, we lose a Marine, killed or wounded. That is too high a price to pay for fuel. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. In this corner, weighing in at 2,500 pounds, your new car. And in this corner, your 25-pound toddler. Although the tail of the tape is a little offset, you can even the odds on child seat safety with SLAP. S. Seat cushions should fit snugly to the angle of your car seat, and the bottom cushion should ride level and secure. L. Make sure your new car has latch, which means lower anchors and tethers for child safety seats. A. Auto-lock retractor belts help keep kids safe even after child seat days are done. And P. Properly install and check connections every time you strap your child in for a ride. Now, you're a safety heavyweight, ready to take on the world. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Marty White. Folks, welcome to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I've got a great show planned for you today. I'm going to give you an overview on how to clean your car, and I'll make it short and brief and very informative. Also, some information about the 2016's strictest and most lenient states with regard to high-risk drivers. You'll be interested to see how they come about with insurance premiums and also speeding tickets and the like. And another topic, they don't make cars like they used to. You're right, they make them a lot better. 50 electronic modules on every car, thereabouts, and some many more. Also, I'll give you an update on the Diablo Sport Intune i2 that we installed and how that's progressing. And also this weekend, Amazon Prime delivers the 2017 Hyundai Elantra. Amazon Prime. Cars. Right. What next for Bezos? This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by O'Reilly Auto Parts. When your battery goes bad, you lose the ability to get things done. When it's time for replacement, trust the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts to help you choose a Superstart battery that's an exact fit for your vehicle, whether it's a reliable economy a hard-working premium, or powerful extreme, O'Reilly Auto Parts has a super start battery you need at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices, every day. Your calls when I come back.
O'Reilly. Need auto parts but can't get to a store right now? Head to O'ReillyAuto.com. Buy your parts online and pick them up in any of the 4,600 O'Reilly Auto Parts stores nationwide. No shipping cost, easy returns, and convenient pickup on your schedule. Shop your way at O'ReillyAuto.com. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices, every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
From the Car Clinic inbox, Jason in Dallas writes, Bobby, the battery in my 2012 Honda just died. I hear you talking about Power Frame. Is this a battery you recommend, and where can I get it? Jason, Power Frame isn't actually a battery brand. Power Frame is the type of grid technology inside select automotive batteries. Why are grids so important? The positive grid provides the energy necessary to start your car, and corrosion of this grid is the #1 cause of battery failure. Power Frame grids are different because the patented grid pattern is optimized for consistent and superior starting power. The manufacturing method and material composition used to produce Power Frame grids result in increased durability and corrosion resistance. In fact, they're 66% more durable than other grid designs like book mold or expanded metal. You can find Power Frame grid technology inside Autocraft Gold and Platinum AGM and CarQuest Silver, Gold, and AGM batteries at your local Advanced Auto Parts and CarQuest stores. For more about Power Frame grid technology, drive to powerframe.com. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Upon EPA approval, advanced ethanol production from grain sorghum will give the nation another option as it aims to meet the federal goal of producing 36 billion gallons of renewable fuels per year by 2022. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Drive to ethanolrfa.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Rosie Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Fortress Mountain Grown. Now you're here, your aroma helps me wake, and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Fortress in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And I want to welcome you to today's broadcast. And if you're tuned in at Watch Bobby Live, which you can every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time, along with your local AM and or FM radio stations, and also your iTunes, your phone, all the social media, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. I would love for you to like us on those social media platforms as well. But in the meantime, I see Jose is calling from L.A., so we're going to take a call from Jose, and then we're going to get a report on the latest technology from Jim in Detroit. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, they don't make cars the way they used to, folks. Repair versus pre-repair, or the prevention of repair, which is a program that we created and we started at Car Clinic Service Pre-Repair. And it's a function and a service that's designed to prevent repair. And here's why. When you get a car that has had enough time and miles and neglect to run itself into the grave, or almost there, 1 foot in the grave, as you might think, there's a lot of money to be spent to get that car back up. So you want to stay ahead of that curve. There are 50 electronic modules. There's 2.5 miles of wiring on today's cars. There are 2,000 wiring terminals. Now, what's a terminal? That's like a plug in your house where you plug, that's where the electrical wire terminates at the plug. There are 2,000 of those. in your automobile. And get this, even if you're driving a $28,000, $30,000 car, not a $100,000 luxury car, there are $8,000 worth of electronics in the average automobile today. $8,000. So that just means that we're driving rolling computers, and we've talked about that many times on this program. But I just wanted to share with you this latest information, and it was a courtesy of Delphi, and of course Delphi is makes a lot of car parts. They have the DNA for all the automakers because they service over 25 of the OEMs, the car makers in the world. Let's go to Jose. Jose, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. You're first in, so you're going to be first up.
Thank you for taking my call, Mr. Likis. I appreciate what you
Bobby.
do. I'm calling from Alabama.
Thank you.
And I have a 2001 Dodge Dakota problem. It involved I got the check engine light came on, and I found a vacuum leak, took care of that problem, and then I temporarily disconnected the battery to clear the check engine light.
Okay.
And then I had no headlights, no rear lights, no emergency brake engaged light on the dash. It's like everything went dead, and I believe it's that module that's to the left where your ankle is on the vehicle, on the left side there.
Well, let me understand, Jose. Let me understand. Not to interrupt you, but when you disconnected the battery to think you could clear the codes of the car, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Just for your information, just going forward, in today's cars, that will not clear a code. You have to use a professional scan tool to clear a code. If you have a light that's on, a check engine light that's on for a loose gas cap or other, and you correct what you think would correct that, there will be 4 to 5 drive cycles, and the vehicle will it will clear its own code. Now, it will still be in the recorded history of the vehicle. And so you want to make sure that if you go to someone and they check your code and they say, okay, you've got an O2 sensor that's bad, and you buy an O2 sensor and you clear the codes, that would be okay. However, if you're having ongoing problems with an automobile, never clear a code until someone has recorded all that information, because that's a health record of the automobile. Now, fast forward to what may have happened to your vehicle when you did disconnect the battery. And I'm assuming that afterwards, none of these lights worked. If that's the case, that could be a body control module, which is what you're referring to, a BCM, a body control module. If that is the case, certainly you might try to disconnect the negative side of the battery, wait about 15 or 20 seconds, and reconnect that battery to see if that solves your problem. Questions?
No, I'll try anything right now. Again, this is 2001. This is a 2001. Would that, what you said, apply to that year as far as
yes,
the way of handling it?
Yes, sir. It applies to any car 96 and later. So that's called an OBD2 or second generation onboard module. So that's how that works. And try that, disconnect that. Now, if that doesn't fix your lights, let me ask one question before I move on. Does the cluster work? Your dash cluster, do those lights work?
Some of them, I believe, do work, but when the emergency brake is engaged, that one doesn't come on.
Well, there's a lot in common. So you've got a lot of lights out, and so you could have a lighting function. It could be a lighting module. But the easiest way, Jose, for you to go forward, and the way that you can't get yourself buried even deeper than you already are.
It's okay. It's okay, Mr. Likis. I got 3 other vehicles.
Yeah, well, I love it, man. You're so cool. I would go ahead and disconnect the negative side of the battery, say a Hail Mary, walk around the car a couple of times, and hook it back up. Make sure you're disconnecting the negative side of the battery only, and then see what happens. And if that doesn't work, take it to a shop. Okay.
Okay.
All right, my friend.
I got it. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome
Have
very much.
A very happy Southern weekend.
Thank you, and right back at you, Jose. Love to hear from you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Oh, what a nice way to start the show off. And speaking of a way to continue the show, let's go from Alabama to Detroit and talk with Jim. Jim, and a healthy, wealthy good morning to you this Saturday morning, sir.
I am when I can start right away on the queue and you don't say, "Where's Jim?"
Yeah, well, we all have a little bio breaks to take from time to time. So today you're with us. You're ready to go. What did you bring to the table this morning, sir?
Okay, Bobby, I want to throw in a little bit of update of information where we stayed off the subject before, but if you say no, I won't go. So
Okay.
put it that way.
No,
But I'm going to take the liberty, for example, in one of my reports, in the Ohio Turnpike, they're going to do special road testing on autonomous cars, and it's supposed to be an ideal place. They want to also find out how they react to winter weather. And in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, they're going to have cab service, but it's going to be the safest auto cars because they're going to have an override driver in the car, and they're going to do a lot of testing in that way. Now, everybody's doing a lot of testing for self-driving. Some car companies want to build their own system. Some are waiting till a universal system comes out. The consensus of the opinion is that it's a gamble either way. Everybody wants to be first on that, and nobody wants to give up the potential of autonomous driving coming soon.
Well, you know, Jim, to that end, Ford Motor Company wanted to be first on the connect to cars, the dash, and they came out with a sync. And they really were first. The problem was that salesmen would deliver a car, hand the keys to Bobby or Jim, and say, "Here, go have fun with your new car with this sync." And then nobody knew how to hook up the sync to their phone. And so Ford lost about 15 positions, not because of, in J.D. Power's poll, not because the car had a problem, but because nobody knew how to use the sync. And so therein lies some of the challenges if you're an OEM, a car maker, with coming out with something first. Because it's great to be first, but it also means that the second and the third and the fourth are probably going to be better iterations of what you created. So I think I'm glad to see that all the car makers are getting into this. In my heart of hearts, it's going to be 5-6 years before we see any autonomous cars. But like you say, they literally are, and this is a new winterizing and testing of those vehicles on events. So I know that a safer car is a car that's driven by a machine. Is that what I just said? Okay, what else did you bring us?
Okay, Bobby, real quick. I'm going to stay on the side that I've read reports that some automobile companies are coming out in the next 3 years with autonomous driving intended in their cars. It doesn't matter which way. Are gasoline cars gone in history? No, they're not. The compression value in cars that can be lowered real low. You can drive a two-cylinder car and with supercharging get it up to good mileage. The idea on mileage hitting 54.8 miles in 220, I had a recent report that said with the compression and everything in cars, they might even be able to put cars out at 64 miles per gallon, and that'll be past the government regulation.
Well, certainly because of CAFE, which is Corporate Average Fuel Economy, which is an average of all of the SUVs and the trucks that are not going to get 35 miles per gallon, and those that might get 60 miles per gallon. It's the average that counts. And as I understand, that rule, the mandate is 54.5 by 2025. What we're going to see is a revisiting of that mandate and a trimming of that mandate, because the 54.5 is really, really going to be difficult to meet. Having said that, just as you said, and I mentioned last week about the adjustable compression engines and the 10-speed transmissions, I've got a new information on that coming up a little later in the program, 11-speed transmissions. You're going to absolutely see manufacturers scrambling to meet that mandate. Jim, thanks for tuning in today, and thanks for your report.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Maintenance Minute is brought to you by General Tire and the Ultimax RT43, a smarter tire for a smarter driver. Size does matter when considering your vehicle's tires. Though plus sizing may seem like a fun choice to amp up customization, the choice is bigger than what meets the eye. Other factors include load capacity must be equal to or greater than OE tire fitment, inflation pressure never lower than OE manufacturer's recommendations usually found on the door frame, Rolling circumference. The original rolling circumference should be maintained as closely as possible. Body and chassis clearance. Ensure sufficient clearance under all service conditions. And gauges. The speedometer and other vital gauges may be affected by plus sizing. General Tire's Ultimax RT43 actually extends the life of the tire by visually identifying vehicle misalignment. Talk about a smarter tire. Visit GeneralTire.com for more details. That's GeneralTire.com. Folks, here's more news regarding our testing of the Diablo Sport iTune i2 Performance Programmer. After several weeks of driving, we continue to be impressed with the features of the i2. Gas mileage has improved a bit, but throttle response has come alive. Dramatic performance improvement with so little work in the way of installation. The Easy Tune features make it, well, easy, asking you things like what octane gas you're using, tire size, and more. Drop a tune on your ride in just minutes. The iTune i2 holds up to 5 custom tunes. Start with preset performance tunes, then make adjustments to suit your own needs. You can also access Diablo Sport's worldwide network of CMR or custom tuning tuners. Use this software to unlock your vehicle's true potential. Learn more at DiabloSport.com, and while you're there, check out the sizzling savings rebate through August 31st, where you can get money back on the iTune, i2, and Trinity Performance Programmers. That's DiabloSport.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
I'm 98.
Higher.
Higher at 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this hour, this segment actually of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for tuning in every Saturday from 10 to noon Eastern Time. We're right here. I see the phones are loading up, and I'll give you the numbers. Plenty of lines open. At this time, 888 Car Clinic. Miss Jan will take your call, put you in the queue, and I will put you on the air. That's 888-227-2546. 227-2546. During the break, you may have heard a commercial for Diablo Sport. And Diablo Sport is a partner sponsor of this program. But just for you to know, before they ever came on the air, they sent us a Diablo Sport Intune i2 unit, and we installed that on an EcoBoost, that's right, my favorite engine, Ford truck. And it was easy to set up. It was much easier than I had imagined, because having been in the business for 45 years, whenever we reprogram a car, it can be an easy process or it can be an all-day sucker. And folks, I can tell you, when you start to reprogram an automobile, when you download from the OEM manufacturers and then put that into the vehicle, there are a lot of settings that you best be careful of. The Diablo Sport Intune i2 unit just bypassed all that. Literally, we plugged that unit in. We read the screen, which is very intuitive, on the little handheld unit from Diablo Sport, and we put in the information like what octane fuel. Are you using a standard tire or an oversized tire? Is the gear ratio different? Has you changed it? It was preloaded with the dyno and street-tested performance programs that were developed specifically for that particular truck, which was a Ford. And what I really liked about it is we drove it immediately, and we felt a difference in the way it performed and the way the gear shifted and the power and the torque. And we're still evaluating the MPG, but just for you to know, the Diablo Sport unit is really super. And what I have asked is I've asked them to give us a unit to give away. So in the next couple of weeks or so, I'll get an answer back from Diablo Sport Corporate, and we're going to give one of those units away, and that's a $400 item. So just stay tuned. I'll fill you in as we go along. Okay, 888-227-2546. Let's go to Mississippi and talk to Jim. Jim, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join us.
Good morning, Bobby. I'm sure I am glad Miss Jan's back.
Yeah, I know. Women, you can't do without them, and you can't do with them.
That's the truth, but don't tell her that.
Oh,
Look,
no.
Bobby, I got a 2001 Town and Country. I got this truck about a year and a half ago, and I called you to talk to you about it, and you said you had one.
Oh, yeah.
And I've got the bugs worked out. The truck has been setting up. It's a one-owner vehicle.
Right.
I say truck, a
Yeah,
van.
a van, yeah.
It's been setting up for a long time. It's a one-owner vehicle. It's got 139,000 miles on it. And you know, an automobile is like a human body. If you don't use it, you're going to lose it.
Yes, sir. Oh, no question about that. Yeah, especially the rear. Okay, especially the rear brakes on that vehicle are they're drum brakes, and so you need to. In fact, I think they are, aren't they? Jim?
Yes, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. The drum brakes, right?
Well, I don't know, Bobby. I took and had brakes put on the front to back up and a master cylinder, and I had no brakes. I thought that my son-in-law is a mechanic. He said he thought they were disc brakes on the back. He wasn't for sure, but he's going to check and see. But that's what I was calling about. I have no brakes. I can mash them. They'll go to the floor, but they'll pump up just like they got air in the lines.
Well, if just like they have air in the line, they do have. Anytime you can pump a brake. Now, understand this: with disc brakes, with four-wheel disc brakes, and I forget if mine had. I'm sure that it did. That's been a long time. But the bottom line is, anytime you can pump a brake pedal and get a better pedal. And I don't mean literally. You could take any car at a stop sign once it's stopped at a stoplight and pump the brakes and maybe feel a little bit firmer pedal. But by and large, the first time you hit the pedal, you should have everything you're going to need anyway. So I have a concern over the calipers if that's the case. But let's back it back. And here's what I recommend. I recommend a power flush, and a power flush is a machine that really doesn't use a lot of pressure. It just uses.
Sir, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, and that will, and actually what we use, we fill the reservoir, we keep it filled, and we go to each cylinder, and we start with the back first because you want to get the air out of the extreme ones, and we usually hook a hose to and draw out the fluid until we see clean fluid, and that's how we perform what we call a brake service or a brake pre-repair. We call it pre-repair because it's a procedure to flush out the old fluid and also without inducing air. See, that's the old-fashioned method was pump, okay, push, pump, okay, bleed, pump. We don't do that any longer because you're asking for problems. Why? Because of the ABS module that's on that automobile. You do not want to induce air there. So I think the easiest thing for you to do is to go to a service shop that performs that service and have them to bleed the brakes with their machine. You got it?
Yes, well, I've done I had to do the transmission like that because, like I say, it's set up for a while.
Yeah.
But whenever it's raining, I can mash those brakes, and the front will lock. And I don't drive it anymore. I got it put up till I get it fixed.
Well, that's good. Smart for you. Well, if the fronts, of course, the front do 70% of the stopping, and the rears are always biased anyway. But it may be that the biasing is incorrect, which would mean there's a proportioning valve that dictates that less pressure goes to the rear. Because if you had equal pressure going to the rear and the front, then the rears would, because there's 70% of the stopping and the weight on the front, the rears would always break loose. So all cars have bias. Race cars have tunable bias, as you know, probably. A driver can adjust the bias for front to rear brakes on a race car, which is very critical during the race, especially Formula One cars. Of course, they can adjust everything. So that's what I'd recommend you do, okay?
All right, Bobby, one other quick one, I'll let you go.
All right.
Like I say, it's set up. I can fill the van completely up with gas. It only goes up to 3/4 of a tank on the meter. But when you get down to where you're a quarter of a tank, the light will come on about the gas.
That's a gauge in the
I
tank.
don't ever take that for granted. When it gets down, before it comes on, I always gas it back up.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Is there any kind of lubricant or anything you might be able to put with that gas to loosen the stuff up in there?
No, that's a cylinder in the tank, and just wait till the fuel pump goes bad and replace the module. That's the fuel tank and the gauge and the pump all together, and that'll fix that problem. Hey, Jim.
All right, Bob, thank you a lot.
I
Y'all
thank
have
you a
great
lot.
weekend.
Back to you, man. Let's go and take another call from Alan. Alan, I want to welcome you. And folks, now's a good time to get in. 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. And a little later in the program, we're going to hear from Josh Hears, who is a field support specialist with PowerFrame. You've heard me talk about the PowerFrame grid technology and batteries. Well, now you're going to learn more about it. But in the meantime, let's go to Alan in Florida. Hey, Alan, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hi, Bobby. Thanks for taking my call.
You're
Just
welcome.
a quick insight and a little thought. You were talking about the gas mileage going up. My concern is that if a majority of the vehicles are getting 60 miles to the gallon, the fuel prices are going to go up exponentially. The fuel companies are not going to be happy if we get 60 miles to the gallon.
Well, yes, you're right.
They charge us $2 a gallon now. We're getting 30. It's going to go up to 4 or 5 if we're getting 60.
Well, here's something to think about. California has already, this is 3, 4, 5 years ago, has already suggested this, and Oregon said, well, sounds good to me, too. They've suggested a mileage tax. Now, get this. I have a Viper, gets 10 miles per gallon. So I pay X amount for a gallon of gas. Let's say $2 today, okay? Actually, it's $2.19 is a U.S. national average right now. That's up from a week ago in every one of the 10 regions, and it's down from this time the same year ago in every one of the regions, but at $2.19 a gallon. So I fill up my car. Now, you're driving a Prius, and you're getting 40 miles per gallon. So you've covered more miles with your 10 gallons than I have with mine. So you pay more because you have to pay a road tax because you use the roads more than I with my 10. So therefore, you're being penalized because you're frugal and you're following the green cycle, which is to buy a better car, not a better car, but a car that gets better gas mileage. And so what's wrong with that picture? It's a way for, and here's a rub that I have. It's a way for the states to gather taxes on road miles. And the taxes are supposed to fix the highways, but we all know that they're billions of dollars and upside down because that money has been used to go into the general fund versus road repair. And so I would be for a nickel gas tax. I would be if we were assured, and it's by law, that where it was going. Yeah, exactly. Hey, Alan, thanks for your call.
I may have to go back to driving my 98 Winston Cup Thunderbird. I only get 2 miles to the gallon.
Yeah, I hear you. Well,
thanks, Bobby.
It would be a lot of. Yeah, thank you. It'd be a lot of fun if you did that. We'll take another call from Tony in Nebraska. Tony, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
How you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. How about yourself?
Oh, not bad. I got a 2009 Chevy Impala. I drive to work every day, and it's a lot of road miles. And the rear tires, this is the second set now on the rear that I've got cupping on both tires. A little worse on the rear passenger side, and I don't know if I've got a strut issue or just exactly what I've got.
Yeah, I'm with you. How many miles on it?
It's got around 90,000.
Okay, here's what I suggest first before you spend any big bucks. Have the vehicle alignment checked with a 4-wheel alignment machine. We use a Hoffman machine that is a digital imaging machine, and we use mirrors and a computer, and it is the darndest machine I've ever seen. It costs a lot of money, but it's worth it. We actually get a picture of each wheel relevant and relative to the other wheels on the car, so we know the wheelbase on the left side. We can X member from the right front to the left rear, the left front to the right rear, so you can check the X, and we can check the caster camber and the toe end on all 4 wheels. So I strongly suggest that you get an imaging alignment machine and that has a printout. Ours is really neat. It's color printout. It's really cool. I have a printout and first and see where each wheel is, because cupping means out of alignment. Now, ultimately, cupping also means out of balance, and that wheel is chop, 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 bouncing on the road, which can be out of balance and or strut. So there, you, in that order: alignment, check, first, correct. Wheel balance, check, first, correct. Third, struts. Realignment. You got it?
We got it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Show.
I appreciate you. And folks, Josh hears. I want to hold Josh over. Josh, if you don't mind, I want to hold you over until the next segment, which, hey, is coming up here. And we're going to hear about Power Frame. Your calls at 888-227-2546. Whether driving for sport or from A to B, your vehicle needs to perform, often in an instant. Stant brings original equipment expertise to their line of quality aftermarket products. Today's Instant product spotlight is on Stant thermostats. Proactive trumps reactive in both the human and automotive bodies. So when replacing your vehicle's coolant, proactive vehicular health calls for a new thermostat. Reach for the thermostat professional installers prefer. Stant. Stant's premium grade USA-made Superstat thermostat has a heavier gauge stainless steel housing and larger heat motor for better temperature control. Heavy-duty springs help return it to a closed position to prevent cold running. And Stant's patented weir valve construction gets coolant flowing as the thermostat starts to open. This helps the engine get to peak operating temperature quicker. Stant Superstat thermostats come with a limited lifetime warranty. Just hold one. You'll feel the difference. Drive to stant.com to learn more or find them on Facebook.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Great show today. On the hotline with us today is Josh Hears, Field Support Specialist for Power Frame. As loyal Car Clinic listeners and viewers know, Johnson Controls is the company that developed Power Frame grid technology for automotive batteries. And I want to welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic, Josh Hears. Josh, glad to have you in the house.
Thanks for having me.
You know, nobody likes sudden battery failure. So, Josh, share with our Car Clinic listeners and viewers what differentiates a battery with Power Frame grid technology from other batteries.
Yep, thanks. There's really three main benefits to Power Frame technology. First one is what we refer to as structurally strong, and that grid is about 66% more durable and more resistant to corrosion than other grid designs. And really what that does for you is it just gives you longer life It's going to give you more of a gradual deterioration as opposed to a sudden surprise with that grid. The second thing is what we refer to as pattern for power, and it's all about the design of that grid, which provides about 70% better electrical flow, which is going to give you superior starting power and more consistent starts. The third benefit is clean construction. That stamped manufacturing process produces about 20% fewer greenhouse gases and produces about 20% less waste than other grid manufacturing processes do.
Now, you talked about the stamped processes. For those who don't know and understand how the inside of a battery is actually made, let's talk about the stamping process. How is this more advanced than the standard other grid manufacturing processes?
Sure. There's a few different ways that you can make those grids, and the stamping process just allows for a more consistent grid when you manufacture it that way. There's a lot of reasons that batteries are going to fail. The number one reason is positive grid corrosion. And that stamping process really is able to minimize the corrosion on that lead plate. Something that we talk a lot about is porosity, or how much air is actually inside that grid, where some of the other grid designs that you're pouring lead into a mold is very porous. There's a lot of air inside that grid, so it's very easy for the corrosion to get inside that lead plate. With the rolled and stamp process that we do, we roll that lead to a very specific thickness, and what that does is it compacts the grains of lead. It gets out of a lot of those air pockets and doesn't allow that corrosion to get inside the lead plate.
Well, I have seen the interior of the PowerFrame grid technology and actually held a model of that in my hand. And folks, there's no other battery that I've seen like it. And it's like comparing a rough casting, if you will, that you see when a company makes a casting of a grill or an engine block versus the final machined version. It's really a beautiful work of art. It's a shame that people don't get a chance to see the inside of their battery. And I'll tell you, Josh, our Car Clinic listeners know that I recommend the standard lead-acid flooded battery with the PowerFrame grid logo, but on the outside and the grid technology. But the newer technology with cars, fill us in on how batteries have advanced as well along with the new cars, because no doubt technology we live in a digital age and technology is right along there.
Yeah, we sure do, and both vehicles and batteries have come a long ways. Your traditional flooded lead-acid battery really was only intended to start the car. It's a starting battery. We call them SLI, or starting, lighting, and ignition. Really, those three things are what that battery was used for. But now, as you know, vehicles have power sliding doors and power tailgates and navigation systems, DVD systems. There are a lot of electronics on vehicles that never were there before. So you need some, other type of battery to be able to power all those different electronics there are on vehicles. And that's where AGM, or absorbed glass mat batteries, come into play. The benefit to AGM is that they can, hold up to all the electrical load there are in vehicles these days and still remain at a very high state of charge. So, your car starts when you want it to, which is the key. And as we move into the future, we're going to start to see a lot more of the start-stop technology cars, which, I'm sure you're familiar with it, but for the listeners, it's kind of that golf cart technology where when you come to a stop, the engine shuts off. All your electronics remain on, but they're all running off of the battery. And then when you take your foot off the brake or hit the gas, the engine will come back on. That type of vehicle certainly is going to take a little bit different type of battery. And again, that's where AGM is going to play a big role.
We're talking with Josh Heers at Johnson Controls, developers of the PowerFrame grid technology for automotive batteries. Josh, talk a little bit about the conditions that affect the life of a grid inside a battery.
Sure. There's two main things that will limit the life of the battery, and that is heat and vibration. The heat is what really corrodes the plates And then the vibration, whether it's, going over rough roads, a lot of stop and go driving, that vibration will start to shake those lead plates apart. And one of the things that I'm out of the Cleveland area, and I think it's a little bit of a surprise up here for some customers that a lot of people think it's the cold weather that kills their battery, because most of the time when their battery dies, it's cold out. That's just not the case. Up here in the more northern region, we get longer life out of the batteries than, say, Florida and the Gulf Coast states do, just because that heat does so much damage to the battery itself, and that's why you need the power frame technology to help resist that corrosion.
I've often said on Car Clinic broadcast how the power frame grid technology has really changed the way not only I think, but our customers. Some 50 or 60 hours a week, Josh, we operate Bobby Likis Car Clinic Service pre-repair, and we actually offer the power frame grid technology batteries to our customers. And I won't go into the time today because it's your time on the air, but we actually have had people that had the battery and drove from Houston all the way to the Gulf Coast without an alternator, and they were stranded at nighttime. They had no other way to go, and that battery brought them home safely. It's a story that is fantastic, and so I'm sort of the hero in the area, if you will, because of the power frame grid technology. I'll take the credit, but the credit really belongs to the power frame grid technology. And speaking of the power frame grid technology, Josh, how can a car owner be sure that he or she is getting the power frame grid technology?
Really, the only way to be certain is to visit one of your Advanced Auto Parts locations or CarQuest. And when you go in there, you will see the light blue power frame logo right on the label of their batteries. And that's really the only way to be certain you're getting that power frame technology in your batteries. And certainly if there's any other questions, or if people want to see videos or pictures of any of the things that we've kind of talked about, certainly can go to powerframe.com. It's a great website with a lot of resources on it.
Fantastic. Josh Hears, Field Support Specialist, Power Frame from Johnson Controls. Josh, thanks for joining us on Bobby Likis Car Clinic today.
Great. Thanks for having me.
That's a lot of information there, and I'll tell you, folks, I just touched on the fact that we did have a customer that drove from Houston to Pensacola on a power frame battery, and sure enough, it was at nighttime, and she and a doctor that's a client of ours and her two children were coming from Houston, and they have a home in Houston and one here as well. And it was nighttime. She drove with the lights on. She said, "Well, what do I do now? I'm going home." And she did. She went home. And she made it. But what's really important, I don't think the rest of the story was, that not only did she make it back, but she cranked that car. That car fired by itself the next morning, and she brought it over, and we put an alternator on the car and fixed the alternator. So no question about. And one of those things that I guess is a BGO that sometimes for me, a blinding glimpse of the obvious. I wonder, when I first heard about the power frame grid technology, how could they reinvent the battery? They being Johnson Controls, and that's the parent company, and this is their brand, the power frame grid technology brand. How could they reinvent the interior of a battery? And when you think about it, the book mold, which is it's a rough casting, is rough casting. So if you're looking for current to flow evenly and smoothly, just like oil in an engine, evenly and smoothly. Well, we use synthetic oil because the molecules are all same size, so it flows more smoothly. That's why if you live in the northern climates for cold temps, you have to have synthetic oil so that engine will start in the morning, even though they use block heaters up there in the Dakotas. So the bottom line, and north of there as well. The bottom line is that grid technology is smoother because they roll that lead and then they stamp it. So every grid is the same size, the same shape, the same diameter, the same thickness. It makes sense. Duh, yeah, after the fact. Hats off to Johnson Controls for the power frame grid technology. I mentioned a clean car would be fun to drive. There's still time for you to get your calls in at Miss Jan. She's already had one compliment today, so when you call in, give her another one. Her face was glowing there. I'm looking through the window at her, and she just loved it. 888 Car Clinic, 227-2546. Preparation is really the key when you want to clean your automobile. There are many videos online with regard that show you how to clean your car, but the main thing for you to realize is don't use home washing, dishwashing soap. Okay, that's number one. Number two, flood the car with water before you ever start to wash it. Just remember that every car, even if you just cleaned your car, and maybe you ran it through a car wash, heaven forbid, but if you did, that happens, and you drove home and then you drove out that evening to lunch, or you went to dinner the next day or to work and back, that car has dust on it from the road. So anytime you wash a car is when you scratch the car. And a lot of people, when they wax the car, they scratch it because they use the wrong materials and what have you. But always, always, using the pressure of a hose, flood that car from top down so that you can knock off the surface, and then use lots of suds, and then sort of one wipe only, and do it in a straight backward and forward motion. Don't swirl and wash it like you would wash your hair. You don't do it that way. You just go back and forth, and start with the top, so that you wash the top, and then as you wash the top, some of the suds already pre-suds the sides of the car. And that's the way that you would, number one, safeguard from scratching the surface of the car. And then after you wash the top or the car, then, and it depends, never wash the car in the sun. That's really difficult sometimes because your schedule, how do you schedule that? For me, my house and my driveway faces the east. So I have to wait until after 5 p.m. where my house blocks the sun facing the west, or else I have to wash my car for the most part inside my garage, which I do occasionally because it actually cleans the floor as well. And then you have to choose what you want to use wisely to wax the car. And I use for mine, I learned this years ago in 2001, actually, I use Zano products on my cars, and there are hundreds of products out there that are good products. You know, it's how you use the product really more so than the product. So just remember that you want to wash the car from top to bottom. You want to dry it down, and I use a battery-powered blower, and I blow 95% of the water off my car. I always blow the wheels dry because the wheels will spot otherwise. I blow them dry first, and then I blow the car, and then I take a small towel, like a microfiber, and I'll wring it out and rinse it. And here's something that I do that is really kind of neat that I didn't learn until later on. I like to take the bucket of suds once I've washed the car, and I'll rinse the bucket out. I'll turn the bucket upside down. And of course, because that bucket's been sitting on my driveway, which for most intents and purposes has been washed clean anyway, but I'll turn the bucket upside down and I'll wash the bottom of the bucket. And then as I dry the car, and see, when you dry the car and you get near the bottom of the car, you pick up some dirt, so you want to occasionally rinse that drying towel as well. And I use a yellow one from Zano so that I can tell if it's dirty or not. I will put that towel onto the bottom of that bucket that's turned upside down, and then I will pressure wash the towel. And then I can spin the bucket, and I can wash the whole towel that is smaller than, and it drapes over the bottom of the wash bucket, and I can clean that, and then I can wring it out, and then I go back to drying my car. It really does work. So you can use polymers, you can use carnauba, but just remember that you can't use carnauba wax on an automobile until after you've polished the surface. And you can go into the clay bar and all that. I won't get into that detailing, but you can make a science. It is a science to clean an automobile. 888 Car Clinic is the number for you to call. This weekend, Amazon Prime is going to deliver the 2017 Hyundai Elantra. How about that? You go to, this is really way cool. I'm going to share this information with you. We have another hour coming up of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. So during that hour, I'm going to go through that in detail and give you a little more information. I'll be also sharing with you about 2016's strictest and most lenient states with regard to the high-risk drivers. What's a high-risk driver? Well, DUI, speeding, tickets, and the like. And so there are different states that have different legal rules and different fines And you'll be most interested in this, so you'll want to stick around for the second hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I really appreciate you tuning in and all the calls that we've had this hour. It's been a great hour, and I enjoy this because it gives me the opportunity to share with you on Saturdays what I learned 50, 60 hours a week in our service shop. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Bobby Likis. Again, 10 till noon Eastern Time every Saturday. Like us, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
When it comes to your car battery, you expect it to work. Turn the key and go. Thanks to state-of-the-art engineering, strong, consistent starts are exactly what you get with PowerFrame Grid technology. Batteries that use PowerFrame Grid technology provide superior cranking power with up to 70% better electrical flow than other grid designs. Look for the PowerFrame logo on the outside of your next battery. It means true strength on the inside. Visit powerframe.com to find a retailer near you. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. E15 as a choice at the pump benefits engines of today's EPA E15 approved vehicles. The first gas station offering an E15 alternative to drivers of light-duty vehicles, model year 2001 and newer, opened its E15 pumps to consumers in Lawrence, Kansas in July 2012. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the cultivated section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the cultivated section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemurs. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's Vehicle Protection Program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And good morning. Welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I'm going to devote this hour to you and to me and to our connections together. So if you have a car question, get it in early. And I'm going to see just how many calls I can pack into this hour. But I promise not to rush anyone, but I do want to give you the information that you need. Sometimes I can do it more quickly than other times. It just depends on the nature of the question. 888 Car Clinic is the number for you to call. Miss Jan is back in the house after so many months of being away, so we're proud to have her back. Be sure and tell her hello when you call in. 888 227-2546. I've got some great information about the Amazon Prime delivering cars. That's right. And also about the strictest and most lenient states for high-risk drivers. Great information and other information as well, but specifically it's you, me, and the telephone, 888-227-2546. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by Stant Corporation, makers of the Superstat. Reach for a thermostat professional installers prefer. Learn more about the Superstat and Stant's entire collection of aftermarket caps and thermostats. Where? At stant.com. And when? Shortly, you, me, and the calls at 888-227-2546. I'll be ready if you are. General Tire introduces the newest addition to the Grabber family of tires. Unearthing this fall, Grabber X3 offers aggressive styling, is engineered for durability, and features numerous performance benefits. The Grabber X3, as in 1, extreme performance in mud with engineered tread features. 2, extreme performance in dirt with superior grip. And 3, extreme performance on rocks with breakthrough cut and chip resistance. Drive to GeneralTire.com and conquer your terrain with a new Grabber X3. Folks, here's more news regarding our testing of the Diablo Sport iTune i2 Performance Programmer. After several weeks of driving, we continue to be impressed with the features of the i2. Gas mileage has improved a bit, but throttle response has come alive. Dramatic performance improvement with so little work in the way of installation. The Easy Tune features make it, well, easy, asking you things like what octane gas you're using, tire size, and more. Drop a tune on your ride in just minutes. The iTune i2 holds up to 5 custom tunes. Start with preset performance tunes, then make adjustments to suit your own needs. You can also access Diablo Sport's worldwide network of CMR or custom tuning tuners. Use this software to unlock your vehicle's true potential. Learn more at DiabloSport.com, and while you're there, check out the sizzling savings rebate through August 31st, where you can get money back on the iTune i2 and Trinity Performance Programmers. That's DiabloSport.com.
O'Reilly. Need auto parts but can't get to a store right now? Head to O'ReillyAuto.com. Buy your parts online and pick them up in any of the 4,600 O'Reilly Auto Parts stores nationwide. No shipping cost, easy returns, and convenient pickup on your schedule. Shop your way at O'Reillyauto.com. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better prices, every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Hospice isn't a place, it's a face. And Regency Hospice delivers more faces to you and your loved one when life matters most. Faces of nurses, nursing assistants, social workers, and chaplains. Regency's skilled, compassionate professionals deliver comfort and individualized care. When that time of life comes to you, Regency Hospice will be there for you. Go to RegencyHospice.com for more, including Hospice for Heroes Veterans Recognition Program.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started with this hour. I mentioned Amazon Prime, and I want to share that with you, and then we're going to take a call from Norman in Louisiana. Miss Jan will take your calls at 888 Car Clinic, put you in the queue, and I'll put you on the air, 888-227-2546. This is an interesting concept, and when I say concept, when you consider what Amazon has done and is doing, and I'll be quite frank with you, I love Amazon. I make up reasons to buy things on Amazon. I'm a Prime member, so I save, and that's the smartest marketing tool I think that any corporation ever came out with. You pay $100 a year, and sometimes it's you get a deal on it. It's a little cheaper than that, and all of your shipping is free. So if you want to order something at $6, you just click and you order it, and it's there in 2 days. And I have found my experience to be always faster than what I expected. And when it wasn't, I got notices of why it wasn't. So this program runs through Amazon Prime Now, the speedy delivery service designed for shoppers who can't wait the 2 days that Prime usually takes. By visiting Amazon Prime/Prime Drive Now, Hyundai shoppers can have a car brought to their location, whether that's a home, business, or a cafe. They'll have up to an hour to take the car for a spin, and if they like it, though, they still have to go to a dealer and purchase the car. But I think this is really kind of cool, because what Hyundai is doing with Amazon is they're allowing folks to drive their vehicle just by reaching out. That these are Prime members now with Amazon. And this might encourage other automakers to get on board with a similar program. Again, this offer is only good, though, in Orange County and Los Angeles. But things have to start somewhere. I think it's really kind of cool that you can, as a Prime member, road test a car. And that just goes to show you that if you make it easier on folks, then people like easy. I think we all like easy. Sometimes things are so easy, you say, well, what's the catch here? And there's really no catch, because you're not dealing with a dealer, you're not dealing with a salesman, you're just dealing with Amazon that says, send me a car out, I want to try that car. So I suspect and I expect that offer will be extended to other manufacturers, because Ford and GM and Chrysler, they're not going to let Hyundai get away with this. I mean, they're not going to let it get a leg up. They're going to also participate. If you'd like to participate in today's program, Miss Jan will take your call at 888-227-2546. Norman from Louisiana, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thank you for holding. Appreciate your patience.
Brother Bobby, I got something to share with you. I could hold for a little while longer if I had to.
That's fine, sir.
Let me make a short story long.
Okay, sure.
We had a little flooding around here the last few weeks.
Yes, sir.
And all the way everywhere. I want you to discuss. I'm going to tell you a little short story, then you can discuss flooded cars.
Okay.
Back in the 50s, my old uncle bought a 57 car in Christmas of 1956. But the first thing he did was roll it in the bayou. Well, we pulled it out, we dried it. It ran for quite a few years with no problems. Now, it didn't have a heater. I don't think it had seat belts. I'm not sure it probably didn't even have signal lights. But it ran for a while. Then about 10 years later, he had another car in between, but he bought a car he knew had been flooded.
Right.
It had everything the other car had, including electric windows. We dried that one out and ran it for quite a few years with no particular problems. But today, and I'm looking for another truck. If I was going to buy a truck today, I would be pretty sure it had not. I got some certification it hadn't been flooded. And for one thing, neither one of those cars had computers in it. And I would like for you to discuss flooded cars. I'm going to hang up and I'm going to turn my radio up and listen to you, okay?
Okay, sure, Norm. That's great. That's a great topic. Gosh, I don't know where to start, but I will share this with you, and thank you so much, Norman. Louisiana, and my heart goes out to all the folks there that are having to go through those flooded times and lost their homes and cars. The challenge with flooded cars, as you said, is that what we see today and the cars that are made today have computers on board. And we didn't have that option, or we didn't have, I started to say that problem. It wasn't a problem, but we didn't have that potential problem with regard to water intrusion 30 years ago, 40 years ago. In fact, the first electronics that came out on a vehicle was the radio dial, and that came out first. And then the second, or about the same time, the alternator had a transistorized regulator inside. And at that time, and I'll just make this brief as well, Ford Motor Company put their alternators on the bottom of their engines. It's just, and you've got your air conditioner, and you've got water pumps and power steering pumps and all that around different automobiles. So the bottom line, when people would drive these Fords, and this is going back into the 70s, they would have immediate alternator problems. And what was learned was that the alternator that was mounted too low in the car, and of course we didn't have diapers or undercovers like we have on cars today that are there for aerodynamics to keep air out from under the hood of the car, because it would hurt gas mileage. That's why we have all these, like when you change oil and filter, that's no longer a quick service to do. So getting back to the water intrusion, Ford Motor Company had to remove all the alternators from their cars and paint with epoxy the diode plates, because the diodes would rust from the snow in northern climates and the salt on the road. That was the beginning of the end, or the beginning of the destruction for cars that have been flooded. If you have, for example, a car that was flooded by salt water, or heaven forbid, a swimming pool, and that does happen. Cars end up in a swimming pool, not often, but that is how I've seen cars, mostly in movies, but certainly otherwise as well. That car must be totaled, because anytime you have salt water, any automobile, whether it's a 50-mile automobile or today's car, that car must be totaled. And that's where you get into the real challenges, like the cars that are going to be coming out of Louisiana that have flood with rainwater, but of course there's still other toxic waste and things that cause problems. So how do you, I guess the bottom line, the short story would be, how do you keep from buying a used car that is flooded? The first telltale sign would be to look under the seat of the automobile. And under the seat of the automobile, you will see the tracks that hold the seat down, and you will see the springs, and if it's electric motors, you will see cables and wires and what have you. And part of that mechanism is not painted. Part of it is, and part of it's not. Wherever it's not painted, you will see corrosion. And specifically, none of the hardware, of course, is painted, because the tracks are all painted, and then they're assembled at the factory. So you look at the hardware that holds the seat down, and if you see that it's rusty and oxidized, then that's a pretty good sign that there's a problem there. Another thing that you can look for is pull the carpets up. But I'm speaking of a visual for you as a consumer. How do you keep from buying a car like that? Well, number one, anytime you buy a used car, you have a PPI, or that's what we call it, a pre-purchase vehicle inspection performed. And part of that pre-purchase inspection performed is a look at all the nooks and crannies of the vehicle, underneath the vehicle. Now, you can't tell if a car has been flooded underneath, because it's normal for cars to run in the water. I mean, all of our cars run in the water, but that water can't come over the floorboard into the car. If it does, you'll see door panels. You'll see signs of warpage in door panels. You'll see stains, just like you would in your home if you had a roof leaking. You can see the color, maybe the color of your white ceiling has stains on it. Well, that's water intrusion. Sometimes near your air conditioner vents in your home, you'll see a little staining, because air conditioner vents, depending on on the humidity, and in the Gulf Coast area, we have tons of humidity. You will see a stain around an AC vent, because the AC vent sweats, and when it does, it bleeds out into the ceiling paint, and then that, of course, tends to dissolve some of the plaster. So the bottom line is, when you buy a used car, you want to make sure that you have someone with eagle eyes to look at it, and that'd be an automotive service shop. And to find an automotive service shop that I would recommend, you should go to asashop.org. And ASA stands for Automotive Service Association, of which I've been a member for years and years. And all of your better shops will be members of asashop.org, or the Automotive Service Association. Doesn't mean that we're better than other shops, but it means that we as owners are involved in our profession, just like a doctor's in the American Medical Association. That's just part of the protocol. So it gives you a pretty good idea of who you're dealing with. And also, you can find a local service shop in your own area within 5 miles, 10 miles, depending on whether or not you put in the parameter or not. asashop.org. I'm going to come back and take your calls at 888 227-2546. So don't touch that dial. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Availability of E15 as a choice at the pump not only serves the American consumer and American economy, but also benefits the engines of today's EPA E15 approved vehicles as an oxygenant, octane booster, and delivery mechanism of a higher density fuel charge, which allows more torque. After 6 million miles of testing by the Department of Energy, the EPA approved in January 2011 E15 for light-duty vehicles. That's cars, trucks, and SUVs, model year 2001 and later. The first gas station offering drivers an E15 alternative and at $1.15 per gallon opened its pumps to consumers in Lawrence, Kansas in July 2012. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Drive to ethanol, RFA. What is the number one cause of battery failure? Corrosion of the positive grid. The positive grid in the battery provides the power to start your car. Weak grids are susceptible to corrosion and expansion, leading to battery failure. Batteries with power frame grid technology inside are up to 66% more durable and more corrosion resistant than other grid designs. Look for the power frame logo on the outside of your next battery. It means true strength on the inside. Visit powerframe.com to find a retailer near you. Stant is the expert when it comes to radiator caps, thermostats, and fuel caps, supplying manufacturers as far back as Henry Ford's Model A. You can trust that Stant fuel caps will deliver OE performance. A leaking fuel cap is more than just the pain of a check engine light. Evaporating fuel costs money. Stant fuel caps are built so well they can even seal with part of the cap broken away, helping to keep you safe. Stant also offers locking fuel caps. Drive to Stant.com or your local retailer today. That's Stant.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip.
From Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. All 10 seconds late of it. I'll try to make sure that our producer is more on time for the next break. Sorry about that, folks, for all of our affiliates out there. In the meantime, Miss Jan will take your calls at 888-227-2546. 888-227-2546. So we got a call from Louisiana talking about flooded cars. And here's one of the main reasons that you cannot and should not ever buy a car that's been flooded. Today's vehicles really are rocket science. 50 electronic modules, 2.5 miles of wiring, 2,000 wiring terminals, and $8,000 worth of electronics. And what you should know is that all of those electronics on that vehicle all communicate together. And it's called a CAN, and that's a local area network, and that's where, for sure, Module A1 and Module 30 and Module 50 are all interconnected. Now, why is that? For safety reasons. And let me give you an example. You take a Lexus or a Toyota, but let's just use a Lexus because this part I've run into and had a problem with. The door lock doesn't work on the driver's side by the key fob. Well, the reason is because the little solenoid that goes up and down, click, click, is bad. So we ordered one, right? Well, it came in and you would think it had needed a couple of wires to work, up or down, 3 at the most. It had 6 wires. And the reason it had 6 wires is because that door lock solenoid is connected to the body control module so that in the event of an accident and the airbag deploys, then it unlocks the door. It, being the car's computer system, unlocks all the doors in the crash after the car comes to rest, of course, so that the first responders can get to the passengers. Because if your head is near one of the glasses and they're trying to get you out, they can't break the glass to open the door, because the door will be automatically locked as you drive the car, so it has to automatically unlock. And in order to do that, when we install this new part on this Lexus, we had to introduce the new part to the car. Otherwise, the car would reject it, just like a foreign body, your body does for a foreign car or a foreign organ. So that's part of the repair process that we have to go through every day. So again, today's vehicles really are rocket science, and this information was a courtesy of Delphi, and I appreciate Delphi. They, of course, make parts for a lot of automobiles. They literally have the DNA of 25 automakers, because they make parts for new car manufacturers as well as the aftermarket. We're going to take a call from Ted, and then I'll take a call from you as well at 888-227-2546. Ted, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house.
Thank you. Good morning, Bobby.
Good morning, sir.
All right, my question is about the difference between continuous variable transmission and automatic transmission. I just got a new car, and this is the first car I've had that's been continuous variable transmission, and I was just trying to figure out some of the differences between the two, because it's really weird to not feel that shock when the gear shifts.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. In fact, the first time that I drove, of course, that's a DAF transmission, MAN, M-A-N. It was a European transmission made 40 years ago, and then the United States finally caught on to it and found it, and said, well, we can use this in cars today. And it's designed, originally it was designed so that you could tailor the RPM and perfectly match the torque of the engine to the road speed, because you had infinite gear ratios because there were no gears. And it used cones and a steel belt with steel links to drive the vehicle. So if you can imagine, like some lawnmowers, you've got a pulley, and you've got the distance between 2 pulleys, you got 2 pulleys and you got a belt. So if you have one pulley that is wide apart, then the belt rides deeper into the groove, and as that belt goes deeper into the groove, the other pulley narrows its groove, which means it goes higher. So the diameter of the pulley changes, and that goes back and forth, and that gives you the infinitely variable ratios. The problem with those transmissions, Ted, is that they had some initial problems. Nissan had a lot of problems with their transmissions. They were actually replacing transmissions on brand new cars that came off the carrier before they ever put them on the showroom floor, because they had replacement transmissions for the ones that they had already installed at the factory assembly line. And so Murano was a used Murano 06, 07 model. It's not a good car for you to buy, because it will have, sooner than later, a transmission problem. And it has the variable transmission. So a variable transmission is a pulley-driven belt, steel belt. And you think about a belt as though it's like on your waist, or like an AC belt or a power steering belt that it pulls and pulleys. It doesn't. In a variable VVC transmission, variable control transmission, VVT, the belt actually pushes the pulley. And I won't get into the technical aspects, I'll try not to. But the bottom line, that transmission is very susceptible to wear and requires its own special fluid. Now, all the manufacturers come out with specifications for their oils, like General Motors came out with Dexos, and so all the oil makers had to, and the aftermarket company had to make sure that their oils would follow the specs of the manufacturer, so you could use Mobil or Royal Purple or Valvoline or Castrol in your vehicle, in your General Motors vehicle. So that wasn't applicable to the Nissan transmission or to your Lancer transmission, because that transmission does require its own special type of fluid because of the wear that's internally in the transmission. And you'll also want to make sure, Ted, that you look in your owner's manual for the recommendation for transmission service, because as a rule, those transmissions are serviced every 30,000 miles. And some manufacturers recommend even sooner changes of fluid. You got it?
I got it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome very
'cause,
much.
Yeah, there was already an issue where I had to bring it back about the transmission, a software update, something about the torque converter, and it running like it was on gravel when it came out of a stop. And so it was related to the CVT. So thank you very much.
You're welcome very much. Thanks for your call. And folks, I'll take your call or Jan will take your call at 888-227-2546. So here's a gentleman who has a Lancer, a new vehicle, and sure enough, it has the variable speed transmission, and which is not a bad thing. But I will tell you, for me, a dual clutch transmission is the way to go. A dual clutch transmission is a manual transmission that has two clutches in one, and one gear is already engaged. Like, let's say you're in first gear. Second gear is already engaged. Now, you cannot be in two gears at one time. If you are two gears at one time, you will lock the car up. So how does that work? Well, you have dual clutch. So you have first gear, that is, the clutch is engaged and you're in first gear. Second gear is already in gear, but the clutch is not engaged. So when your car shifts to second, the clutch that operates the first gear releases and the second clutch engages. Now what happens? Third gear then is engaged. The transmission has little motors that shift inside the transmission. It's ingenious. And then a little later in the program, as I can with time, Honda is cooking up an 11-speed transmission with a triple clutch. That is a whole new outlook on gear train. And I'm really excited about a triple clutch transmission, because now you can have 11 speeds. Well, why all these speeds? I'll answer that a little later in the program, but we have a transmission that slips in gear. Howard's call from Texas. Howard, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Morning, Bobby. I've got a GX470.
Yes, sir.
And when I am sitting like at a light or sitting in a parking lot and I put it in gear and I'm still sitting there, I hear this little catch in the transmission, like a slip or a bump.
Well, not when you initially engage it. You're not talking about when you initially engage it. You're talking about it's already engaged and you're sitting there, and it. So help me to understand that part. Describe that part.
Well, for example, I was just sitting in a parking lot. I put it in reverse. I had stopped to turn on the air conditioner, and it seems like two teeth are supposed to be synced together, and it's slipping. Does that make more sense?
Well, does it continuously do this?
It's random. In other words, it may happen once every 3 or 4 seconds while I was sitting there today, but it doesn't always happen.
Well, it may not be the transmission. It may be an accessory that's coming on and off. It could be something so simple as the air conditioner engaging and not engaging. Because number one, when you put the car into gear, of course the valve body and the computer that controls the fluid flow engages a clutch, and it engages that clutch. Now, the reason the car doesn't go is because it has the torque converter, which is like a paddle wheel on a ship. So you can actually turn the paddle wheel slowly, which means that the engine can idle, and that's how you can sit in gear at a traffic light with an automatic transmission without the car moving, because obviously now when you step on the accelerator, there's what's called stall speed. So here's what I would suggest that you do, Howard, because the noise that you're describing doesn't make sense for an automatic transmission to produce. In other words, of all my 100,000 plus questions, I never had one like this. So I'm thinking that of course in Texas they do things different than they do everywhere else, right?
I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you being from there, you should know. So. What I would suggest that you do is turn off all accessories, i.e. the air conditioner, and make sure that you still have this noise and you can duplicate this noise. And then before you spend any of your hard-earned dollars, take it into a service shop and have a technician sit in the driver's seat, a passenger seat. You drive and say, come with me, let me show you what this car does. And if the car is so erratic in its behavior that your SUV that it won't do it, then what you need to do, what I recommend you do, is to try to determine under what circumstance it happens most often, like when the engine is hot or the transmission is hot or those sorts of things. And then you can have a better opportunity to show a technician what it's doing. Otherwise, you take your car in and leave the keys, and somebody drives your car and they say, well, it works okay for me. You got it?
Yep.
Okay, my friend.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you. Appreciate your call. And I see that Mark is calling from Nebraska. We'll take Mark's call when I come back. 888 Car Clinic, and you'll be up next. This vehicle maintenance spotlight is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Battery maintenance starts with keeping terminals free of dirt, grime, and oxidation. This will keep your connection clean and the charge strong. Park in a garage or use insulation wrap for protection against extreme temperatures. Of course, every battery has its day. And if you're in need, the parts professionals at O'Reilly Auto Parts will help you choose a Superstart battery that's an exact fit for your vehicle. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly. Has the summer heat taken a toll on your vehicle's battery? Count on O'Reilly Auto Parts for the Superstart battery that's right for your vehicle. For a limited time, purchase a Superstart Premium, Extreme, or Platinum battery and get up to a $15 O'Reilly gift card by mail. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease, and she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Miss Jan will take your calls at 888 Car Clinic. Be sure and tell her hello. It's great to have her back in the seat again. 888-227-2546. We're going to take a little trip to Nebraska and talk with Mark, and then I'll take your calls. And then I want to share with you some information that about Diablo Sport that we've just learned. and you'll be excited to know. And then I've got the 2016's strictest and most lenient states regarding high-risk drivers. Maybe some of you will fit into that category. Maybe not. Mark, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Yes, I have an 2008 Equinox, Chevy Equinox.
Yes, sir.
And the check engine light's on. I talked to you about a month ago.
Okay.
And they, at the first one, said that it was the timing chain. Took it to another shop, and they said the same thing. Car runs fine. Is there a risk of it going at Fritz, or is there an electronic component that's telling it that it's the timing chain and actually is not? My son also has an Equinox a couple years older. He took his in and had timing chain put in. 8 months later, had another timing chain put in, and they said they can't guarantee it the second time. So it sounds like a car Chevy problem.
Well, to my knowledge, we've not had any timing chain problems, serious chain problems with any GM cars. I will say this: we are seeing, and with the cars that have variable camshafts, variable valve timing, we're seeing the solenoids that control the flow of oil that allow those sprockets to advance or retard. We're seeing some of those solenoids go bad, specifically the Ford products, and a lot of that has to do with the type of oil or lack of oil change. Do you hear any noise, Mark? As I understand, as I remember, you have no symptom other than the fact that the light's on, that there's any problem, right?
Correct. The only symptom I've noticed change was that when you have it on cruise control driving down the flat interstate,
right,
every once in a while it will shift down to a lower gear, thinking it needs more power.
Well, then that is a sign of a low vacuum, and anytime a chain is worn, it will retard the cam because the crankshaft moves always as a driver. So the crank is the driving element, and it literally pulls the chain that pulls the camshaft in time. So anywhere at all means that the camshaft is backing up, and whenever you retard a camshaft, it means that it retards the timing, so it would decrease cylinder pressure. That's a given. In fact, you can take a perfectly healthy engine, and I've done this with earlier Mercedes that was made for the Autobahn and had very little get up away from the traffic light. I've modified the distributor, and I advanced the camshafts and probably brought its torque curve down almost 1,000 RPM, or 800 anyway. Now, but having said that, that was an older automobile that had an old-fashioned Autobahn design on it in the mid-'70s. Having said that, if your vehicle is running low on vacuum, then definitely that is a symptom that the chain is worn. You know what I need to do? I need to do some research for you. So what I'm going to do when we're finished our conversation is place you on hold, and Miss Jan will get your email address, and I will check with my team, and also will check with a couple of like All Data and some other subscription-based repair data, and I'll just find out from those subscriptions if we're looking at something that is of national concern here. Because what's really neat about being in the business is that we subscribe to companies that allow us to literally talk to another technician in another part of the world in real time. And so just because I've never heard of that, or we've not had substantial problems in our region, doesn't mean that doesn't happen in Nebraska. Although for the most part, the same weather in Nebraska is in the Gulf Coast of Florida, more or less anyway. So I will do that. And as far as and I have one more thought, and that thought is the sensor, the cam sensor, and the cam sensor on that vehicle could give an erroneous signal to the computer, and that would set a trouble code as well. So it could be the cam sensor that's causing the problem. And if your engine has phasers, cam phasers, then that would be the problem that I talked about with the Ford product. But I'm not sure that your car has a variable cam timing on it. Do you know if it does or not?
Not that involved. Don't know.
Okay, I don't think that it has. I think that's a later engines and later model, but it could have. And if that's the case, it could be a cam phaser, and then that phaser would control the advance and retard of the camshaft itself. So I will check on how many miles on the Equinox.
130,000.
Well, can you honestly say that you've changed oil religiously in this vehicle and taken good care of it?
Yes, I have.
Well, I just 130,000 miles is no reason that a cam would be a chain would be worn out, but it's possible, And I don't. Getting back to your son's chain, that doesn't make sense to me. That you put a chain in and 8 months later you got the same problem. Sounds to me like that they didn't put enough parts in there, or they didn't put guides in there, or what have you, and or there's some other reason for a premature failure or a premature wear of a chain. Because if the factory chain lasted 150,000 miles, how many miles on your son's car when it was replaced? Do you know?
Not sure. I think about 150 to 175.
Yeah. So then, how many miles later? 8 months later, so what, another 15,000?
Local driving, so he did not put very many miles.
Exactly. So I think that maybe there's some a part that wasn't replaced. Maybe the crank gear wasn't replaced. Maybe it looked okay. Maybe some tensioner wasn't replaced. But, one of the things in closing that has not to do with chains but with belts, whenever we put a timing belt on an automobile, always we replace that part as a kit, which comes with the belt, the pulley for the belt, the timing tensioner with pulley for the belt, and in some cases even the water pump, like a Lexus product, a Toyota product, or a Honda product. We always replace the kit. And the reason I bring this up is for you folks out there that are, maybe you call one shop and see what do you charge for a timing belt replacement, and then you call another shop and there's $200, $300 difference. Well, just understand it's the kit that you want replaced, not the belt. It's the kit. So it's like having open heart surgery and you wake up and you've had one bypass and the doctor looked at you and said, well, Mark, you're doing pretty well. You really needed 2 bypasses. We're going to go back in there in 6 months and do another one. What? So anyway, I'll put you back on hold now. I won't turn you loose. And then you give Miss Jan your information and we'll stay connected and I'll help you work through this, okay?
Appreciate it. Is there any, driving it down the road, is there anything that I can do damage to myself or the car?
Well, no, no. I mean, in a lot of cases, when a timing chain breaks, you've got some internal engine damage, and especially with an engine that is an interference engine, which means that when the cam and the pistons get out of phase, the valves hit the pistons. Your engine, to the best of my knowledge, is not an interference. It's what's called a freewheeling engine. But I cannot remember the last time I had a vehicle in here that had a timing chain failure, and that's been really, literally. I mean, belts, yes, but chains, they usually make so much racket before they ever fail, and they usually make a lot of racket when you first fire the engine in the morning. That rattle, 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 rattle. Then when the oil pressure builds up, it pushes the tensioner out, and that takes up as much slack as it will take up. So just pay particular attention when you first fire the motor in the morning, and I'll put you back on hold now.
Okay, appreciate it.
I appreciate you, Mark. Thank you. 888-227-2546 is your way to get into the show if you have a particular question or a call. I mentioned the Diablo Sport, the Intune i2 Performance Programmer. Well, folks, we're going to reach out, and this company is going to give us one of these units for me to give away, which I'm really excited about because the programmer is a fantastically easy unit to use. Unlike, I must say, some of the programs and reprogramming that we do on our customers' cars here This is a plug-and-play unit. You literally just plug it into the data port of your vehicle, and then it takes you through, it's got an intuitive display, takes you through a hand touch screen, and you just simply, the first thing it does, it saves the initial program that your car came from the factory with, so that you can always reload the original program. That's a must. It's like saving your work before you start anything else. And sometimes I don't always save my work, and I'm always, upset when I myself. So the Diablo Sport Intune i2 Performance Programmer saves your factory settings, and then you put in your octane. And if you change gears, you put in your gear ratio, you put in your timing, or your tire size, and those things. But what's really neat about the Diablo Intune i2, the software is updatable on any computer. So you can get even the larger updates takes no more than 5 minutes. So I'm going to be giving one of those away coming up. So you want to stay tuned, because those units are about a $400 unit. And I will tell you, with all candor, if they made one for my Jaguar, I would put one on it today. My transmission, I've got an 8-speed paddle shift transmission, and I love it, but I wish that it would shift with more authority. It likes to, because, it's a luxury car, it likes to slide into the gears, and so if I could. So while I'm on the air here, Diablo Sport, do you hear me? Make one for my car, or else I'm going to jailbreak my software and put in a forward shift in my car anyway. DiabloSport.com for more information. Stay tuned to Bobby Likis Car Clinic for more coming up. In the meantime, we'll take a call from Richard. Richard, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house.
Hi, Bobby. I know you're running out of time, so I'll make it fast.
Sure.
I've got a wonderful, brand-new Ford Explorer that I'd like to keep that way for many years, and I wonder what your opinion is on using the gas that you get at a 7-Eleven or a racetrack or something like that versus spending the extra 4 or 5 cents a gallon to get your gas at a Mobil or a Shell or one of the major brand stores.
Here's what I know. Shell V-Power gasoline has 5 times the mandated cleaner on the market. Now, what does that mean? The government mandates that there has to be detergents in the gasoline to fight the carbon buildup from gasoline. I also know that today's gasoline is very aggressive, Richard, and that means that you actually can have seal damage and other damage from gasoline. A lot has been said about ethanol, too much in fact, and it is not the ethanol that causes the problems with seal swelling and what have you. We just posted on Facebook this very item just this week because we had fuel samples from Wichita and from 3 other cities and compared them in test tubes to, actually it was ICM in Wichita that did this, Steve Vandegren, who is a fuel specialist. And he had the test tubes, and the rubber sealing lids of each of those bottles was swell from aggressive gasoline. And then he had one there that was, as a comparative, was not swell. Then it had 100% ethanol in it. So, but they make racing fuels, and they're into the ethanol. And so he's very much into fuels. He helps Ford Motor Company. He writes white papers and those sorts of things. So getting back to gasolines, there is a difference in gasoline, i.e. specifically the additive packages that go into gasoline, because the root bulk of gasoline, it all comes from the same plant. For instance, years ago, I know this for a fact, and I don't know who bought that plant, but LL&E owned the Louisiana Land and Exploration Plant in north of Mobile, Alabama. I went to that plant, and I saw trucks that came in. And Richard, you'd be interested to know, and folks, you would too, they didn't buy gallons of gas. They had big tankers that would come in. They had the big gas station in the sky with huge hoses, and they could fill the tank from the top. All of the trucks had the same mid-grade, high-grade, and bottom grade octane fuel. Then on the side, they had little 5,000-gallon tanks where you would see Conoco, you would see Shell, you would see Sunoco, you would see Exxon, and they would add the additives so that legally those fuels would be. And to make a long story short, LL&E supplied 85% of all the gasoline on the Gulf Coast of Florida. I know that for a fact. Now, having said that, what Shell V-Power did, and what Shell has done, is they've put in 5 times the amount of detergent. So having seen the damages that are inherent on today's GDI, the gasoline direct injection vehicles, I tend to believe that maybe I should use more of the Shell gasoline, but that's still not going to stop the carbon buildup because there's no gas flowing over the back of the valve. So in the real world, the short answer, the gasoline you buy at 7-Eleven is fine. You got it?
Got it. Thank you, buddy.
You're welcome, buddy. That's about as short an answer as I could ever make. I'll see you next week, same time, same station. I'm Bobby Likis. Likis, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Folks, here's more news regarding our testing of the Diablo Sport iTune i2 Performance Programmer. After several weeks of driving, we continue to be impressed with the features of the i2. Gas mileage has improved a bit, but throttle response has come alive. Dramatic performance improvement with so little work in the way of installation. The Easy Tune features make it, well, easy, asking you things like what octane gas you're using, tire size, and more. Drop a tune on your ride in just minutes. The iTune i2 holds up to 5 custom tunes. Start with preset performance tunes, then make adjustments to suit your own needs. You can also access Diablo Sport's worldwide network of CMR or custom tuning tuners. Use this software to unlock your vehicle's true potential. Learn more at DiabloSport.com, and while you're there, check out the sizzling savings rebate through August 31st, where you can get money back on the iTune, i2, and Trinity Performance Programmers. That's DiabloSport.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P-Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow, now you're here. Your aroma helps me wake and the day is mine to take.